How Ducati erased Francesco Bagnaia while pretending to race him. Francesco Bagnaia did not forget how to ride a motorcycle in 2025. That statement should not require defense. And yet MotoGP spent an entire season acting as if it were fiction. Two-time world champion, Ducati's modern standard bearer, the rider who took a bike once feared for its brutality and turned it into a repeatable championship machine. And suddenly, in the space of one winter, he was framed as inadequate. Not slower, not unlucky, inadequate. What makes this collapse different from every normal decline narrative is not the result. Riders lose titles all the time. What makes it different is the speed at which belief evaporated. There was no grace period, no long adaptation window, no patience normally afforded to a reigning champion. Because the moment Marc Márquez arrived at Ducati, the hierarchy stopped being negotiable. Bagnaia didn't lose control of the garage. The garage stopped waiting for him. The standings tell the cruelty in raw numbers. Márquez, 545 points, championship secured with 5 rounds remaining, despite missing the final 4 races. Bagnaia, 288 points, 5th overall, beaten not only by his teammate but by Alex Marquez, Marco Bezzecchi, and Pedro Acosta. That gap wasn't rivalry, it was removal. The paddock chose the easiest explanation: pressure. Marc intimidation, mental fracture, a champion exposed when comfort disappeared. Those stories protect the factory. This episode dismantles them, because 2025 was not about Francesco Bagnaia being beaten. It was about Francesco Bagnaia being left behind on purpose. The failure did not begin on race day. It began inside the bike. Ducati's revised ride height device for the Desmosedici GP25 was marketed as Progress, a more controlled hydraulic system, faster transitions, improved stability under acceleration and braking, incremental evolution. In reality, it rewired the motorcycle's behavior at the most sensitive phase of Bagnaia's riding. According to former MotoGP rider Nobuatsu Aoki, the updated system restricted the rear suspension's ability to settle progressively. The device limited the side-slip window that Bagnaia relies on to rotate the bike into the corner. This is not semantics. This is identity. Bagnaia does not attack corners by overpowering the front. He engineers rotation through controlled rear instability, a precise slide, a calculated release, a narrow operating window that rewards feel over violence. The GP25 closed that window. Braking balance changed, rear feedback flattened, entry confidence disappeared. The bike resisted rotation instead of cooperating with it. For Marc Márquez, this was irrelevant. Marc does not need rear permission. He forces the front. He drags the bike into corners others would abandon. The GP25 didn't challenge him. It amplified him. Bagnaia wasn't slow to adapt. He was riding a bike that no longer acknowledged his method. Ducati knew. Engineers privately admitted the GP25 behaved differently from the GP24 under braking. The balance shift was real. The feedback loss was real. The consequences were visible. And Ducati kept going. But this is where the entire story snaps. Because once the problem was identified, Ducati had options. They could revise the device. They could protect Bagnaia's rotation window. They could split development internally. They chose none of them. That decision was not accidental. Everything you thought you understood stops working here. MotoGP sells a lie of neutrality, that factories build bikes, not riders, that champions are protected by results alone. That illusion collapses the moment a factory's future aligns with one rider's adaptability more than another's identity. Marc Márquez did not simply outperform Bagnaia. He validated Ducati's long-term philosophy: aggressive braking, front-end dominance, stability over feel, a bike that tolerates violence and rewards instinct. Bagnaia represented something else, a refined approach, harmony between rider and machine, precision over improvisation. Ducati did not choose between riders, they chose between futures. Once that choice was made, development gravity followed. Resources flowed where results came fastest. Marc delivered immediately. Belief consolidated. Belief hardened into policy. Bagnaia became the variable. When Pablo Nieto stated that Luigi da Ligna had no answer for Bagnaia's struggles, it sounded like transparency. It was something colder. In MotoGP, No answer means no more investment. That is how factories decide outcomes without announcements. Bagnaia's late-season wins, Motegi, sprint victories, pole positions, none of it altered the trajectory, because once a factory shifts belief, performance becomes anecdotal. The power reversal was complete. The champion became expendable. The newcomer became the axis. The bike became the judge. This is where 2025 truly ended. Not in DNFS, not in standings, in narrative execution. Francesco Bagnaia did not get beaten. He got shadowed out of existence. Once Ducati stopped solving his problems, the ecosystem followed instantly. Media reframed him as limited. Fans reframed him as conditional. Commentators reframed his titles as bike-dependent. The factory never had to say a word. Silence did the work. Marc could crash, remount, score 4 points, and still be described as inevitable. Bagnaia could win races and still be dismissed as situational. This is how modern factories erase riders without firing them. They stop adapting for you. They stop explaining you. They let perception rot. Fans participated eagerly, as if Bagnaia hadn't delivered Ducati its modern dominance, as if he hadn't won 2 championships, as if he hadn't missed a third by 10 points on the GP24, as if he hadn't humanized a machine once considered untamable. History was rewritten mid-season. That rewrite is the real damage of 2025. GP24 doesn't cover MotoGP. We document its wars, subscribe and enlist, and now the part nobody is ready for. Ducati has no incentive to reverse course. Ride height devices are banned in 2027. Why waste 2026 refining a system for a rider whose strength aligns with a technology about to disappear? Why slow development to preserve identity when efficiency demands forward momentum? From Ducati's perspective, adaptation is Bagnaia's responsibility. From Bagnaia's perspective, 2026 is an audition under hostile lighting. This is not a title defense, it is a survival trial. The irony is brutal. The 2027 reset should theoretically favor riders like Bagnaia. Cleaner bikes, less artificial control, more organic rotation. But resets do not restore status. They expose who has already been mentally replaced. Marc Márquez does not fear resets. He feeds on them. He has already proven that adaptability is his true currency. Bagnaia stands inside a narrowing corridor. Adapt to a bike that does not love him. Endure a factory that no longer centers him. Enter a future where loyalty has been replaced by efficiency metrics. This is not about beating Marc. It is about proving irreplaceability in a system designed to erase it. When Bagnaia eventually leaves and suddenly looks human again on another bike, the same voices will claim they always believed. They didn't. But this record will stand. GP24 doesn't cover MotoGP. We document its wars. Subscribe and enlist.